So Deadlock finally released those 6 new heroes, and they've been out for like a month, but really, where do these guys stack up against each other? I think everyone feels like they were broken when they first were released, but now it's been a month, they've kind of been adjusted a bit, but who's actually the most impactful and strongest of the 6, and who is just kind of not that great? Now, if you ask me personally, it kind of looks something like this, but if you look at the win rates right now, it looks a little more like this. But why? Now, these win rates are just off of TrackLock GG, so it's just win rates of every player ever who's played these characters and just how well they did. Regardless, if we're starting at the bottom, I'm just gonna put Rem there because no offense, and this is a little bit of my bias, I feel as though as a support, he probably has the least impact out of all the new characters. And that's not me saying that he's a bad character, just out of the 6, he's the weakest. Let's start off with the first one. We got the grenade. I mean, it's a pillow toss, you know, and when you upgrade it, it does more damage and you get some charges and things like that. And it does a decent amount of damage, but obviously that's probably like your biggest damage dealer. And really, unless you're building him super spirit nuki, he's not gonna be doing that much. Now, secondarily is his 2, which is his best supportive ability, in my opinion, the tag along. Right? Lets you hop onto a teammate, heals them, heals you, and it basically makes you immune until you get ulted by the enemy, and then you get popped off, or the timer ends. Now, I think his most unique ability is definitely his 3. The little helper dudes, they're freaking adorable. We all love Rem. And you can obviously put them onto your teammates to give them a little buff. You can have them attack the Cinder Sacrifice. And personally, and in my opinion, the best use out of all of them is the fact you can actually put them on your allied minions, which makes them stronger, last longer, and is just really good for pushing waves late game. It's like a weaker version of what Graves can do, which is really good. And then finally, we do have his ult, his sleep. It's pretty good. Nap time, you aim at someone, and then after a little bit of duration, they eventually fall asleep, allowing your team to capitalize on that and attack them, because while they're asleep, they can't do anything. Personally, I feel with all of those 4 abilities, he's a pretty strong character and very supportive in his own right, but I think compared to the others, he's just not as impactful because of those abilities. And to me, what defines a very strong character is how much they can actually impact the state of the game. And really, Rem's best ability to affect the state of the game is really just his ultimate, and that's about it. His firepower is weak, his abilities are pretty okay, but they don't really do much to the enemy teams and they barely do anything for your allies. Now, whether or not he's a better supporter character than the other supportive characters, that's up for debate, I don't know yet. But he's definitely, in my opinion, the weakest of the 6. So with that out of the way, we're definitely putting him in C tier. Now we're going off to the church man himself, my boy Venator. Personally, I freaking love this guy. And really, I've just been using a build where he's melee Venator, which is really strong and kind of dumb in my opinion, but it's pretty good. But still, like Rem, I feel he's very weak compared to the other 4 above it. Like Mario from Super Smash Bros., Venator kind of just does it all, and he does it all okay. He's a gun character, he has a grenade, he has a tripwire trap, and he has a pushback ability, and then his ult is just more damage. None of his abilities are really unique, but they all just get the job done, and that's the best way I would describe it. Now, with his grenade, you obviously do your fire damage, which was really good. One of the more interesting things is on its full upgrade, you actually do get charges for this thing. So if you buy something like rapid recharge, you can have more than 1. So now you have 3, and that's actually not that bad. The shotgun on full upgrade does stun similar to Abrams, allowing you to melee people without them being able to parry. Laying down his traps is one of the best defensive and battlefield adjusting tools, I think, because really in the chaos of the battle, not many people are looking at the floor. So when they eventually get trapped, it makes it a lot easier for your team to just kind of gang up on them. And then finally, we do have his ult, which is really strong. It's just a pure weapon damage ability that boosts with weapon damage, but it also does pure damage, meaning that it goes through all resistances. And on its final upgrade, all of the stakes are blessed, meaning that all 3 shots do pure damage. Really, with all that in mind and his just ability to farm like crazy, he can be very strong. He can be pretty overwhelming, but I think he's still like a B out of every category in my opinion. He doesn't really excel in any specific one area. He can do really good, but I don't think his kit allows him to be one of the best heroes, even though I freaking love him. I think Venator is hilarious, and I think the church gimmick and when people play into it is fucking phenomenal. I do that. But with that in mind, we are putting my boy Venator in B. So now we're moving on to my favorite character out of the 6 and the one that I personally voted for, Apollo. Low-key love the guy. His personality does kind of suck, but I think it's freaking hilarious, and I think everyone's interactions with him are hilarious. And I do think Apollo being a spirit nuker is actually very fun. His movement is insane, and his ult just feels so cool. He's just very much one of those characters where you want to build into stamina, be moving around all the time, and really just poke people, get in, out of there, try to finish them off, and not really stay for a prolonged fight. Here for this example, we do have his disengaging sigil. It's just kind of an explosion, but it also does that little pop back. So really, if you're being attacked by an enemy, you can definitely just pop this and then turn and dash jump away. It's a very good movement tool that also doubles as pretty good spirit damage. Next we have his parry, which in my opinion is probably his strongest ability. That's honestly up for debate. I mean, a lot of people will say the 3 is the strongest, and I think the 3 is the strongest for doing damage, but the fact that I think you can parry almost every ability except for channeling abilities, in my opinion, is incredibly strong. Basically, anytime anyone pops an ability, you press this 2, you will riposte it. By the way, small tip, you can also do that against Doorman ult. When it ends, if you're in the Baroness Hotel, you can press 2 and you will be free, just like a counterspell. Kind of awesome. Next is his most notorious ability, his 3, which has gotten nerfed and buffed so many times it's been kind of insane, but it's his Flawless Advance. You get 3 charges. If you time it perfectly, it does more damage, has more range, and heals you a little. And really, it's his most consistently strong ability of his kit, because it's your engaging or disengaging tool. You can just constantly use it to harass the enemy, get it on low cooldown, build up your spirit damage, and you really are just poking everyone. And like his 1, it's also a decent movement tool because it does allow you to move up. You can just see you later. Just go into the air, it doesn't matter, and you can disengage just as easily. And finally, the thing that I think makes him the coolest character is his ult. What his ult does is basically once you press the button, it's a little bit of a slowdown, it charges up, and then Apollo goes through everyone, slows them down, and then does damage over a little bit of time. Kind of like an old samurai movie. It's awesome. Enemies are silenced, he's immune for that duration while he's like frozen, and then it does that explosion damage afterward. Honestly, it's always just the coolest thing. Like seeing yourself just go through everyone and hit everyone and then just go ba 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 and they all explode. It's awesome. It's like a samurai movie, dude. Like Apollo's so cool. But even with all that being said, and as much as I love him, I don't think he's breaking top 3. He is definitely bottom 3, but I think I place him at the top of the bottom 3. So really, he's just sitting at a high B. He's definitely stronger than Venator, stronger than Rem, has a lot of movement, and you being able to utilize that movement is very important. For the average player, if you're not really able to utilize that movement, then you can find yourself in a lot of unfavorable situations, but still him having such a strong ult and a 3, I think puts him over Venator. So definitely he's high B, but he's not breaking the top 3. Now we're going to the purple pink princess herself, Celeste. This one I feel like might be the most controversial because I don't think she's breaking top 2. She's top 3. I definitely think she is very strong. Her movement is insane and her ult does a lot of damage, but I don't think she's stronger than Silver or Grave. Celeste can be a very overwhelming character. She can really end teamfights with her ult because her ult is actually even more insane than Apollo's. But I feel like in terms of pressure, Celeste has a lot more than the other characters, and her allowing to constantly put that pressure on the enemy and then kind of just go in as like a wrecking ball tank almost with her 2 makes her really strong on top of her ult. So very basically, her 1 is just kind of like a blast in front of her that does some spirit damage. To me, I think one of the more stronger abilities is her 2. Her 2 is kind of insane. Basically, it puts a barrier around her that not only protects her from damage, but when it explodes, it silences the enemies that broke it. So she can kind of just run in, press 2, do damage to you, and you have no choice but to run away because if you break it, it does damage and then it explodes and silences you, putting you at an even more disadvantage than you already were. Now her 3 is I think where a lot of her pressure comes from because this is just an AoE explosion attack that does pretty good damage, but you can even make it stronger with something like Greater Expansion to just have it cover such a wide range of area and do damage that the enemy has no choice but to run away or eat all that damage. And really, the fact that it has charges makes it even stronger. And now we come to her ult, her probably most broken thing about her. So what her ult does is it basically just throws a ball. And if there's only one enemy, it kind of just does nothing, right? It kind of just sits around and hangs around them and you're like, what the fuck's the point? Well, if there's multiple enemies around it, it will bounce off of each of those enemies. But what makes it even stronger is the fact that in conjunction with her 2, if she puts it on herself and then throws the ult, it will bounce off of her and the enemy repeatedly, which means that she could chase someone down even solo and destroy them with her ult. It also slows them, which makes it even more annoying and harder to get away. Personally, with all that, I find her incredibly annoying and really strong, and just in a chaotic team fight, just throwing her ult, even if you're not doing that well, it will just have that impact that I think she's way stronger than Apollo, Venator, and Rem. So really, I gotta put her in the top 3. Top 3, but not S tier. We're definitely putting her at A. Yo, if I can be honest, dude, I was having such a hard time deciding between these two. Genuinely, top 2, I feel like is a really strongly highly contested for position between these two characters, Silver and Graves, because they are both just equally freaking incredibly strong for both their own reason. Obviously, I chose Silver as second best, top 2, but the caveat to that is, I think in engagements purely, as in fighting the enemy like solo or even as a team, Silver is the strongest out of the 6. Silver's a bit of a different character. She has her normal form and her wolf form, and obviously her wolf form is where she shines. She gets a bunch of extra health, does a lot of damage, low cooldowns. Now in her girl form, her 1 is just a reload for 3 quick shots at a lower accuracy rating, but it does a lot of damage for burst. Her 2 is a kick that marks the enemy, and when you shoot them, it does extra spirit damage. Pretty good. I think her most useful ability in her normal form is her 3, because it's just a slowing bola that really allows you to creep up on the enemy, slows them down, and also allows your teammates to come in and do damage to them. Now when you do enough damage, you do activate her wolf form, and with this it's a little more interesting. Her 1 is a bite that heals you, her 2 is a dash at the enemy that attacks them and just brings you closer to them, and it does have a pretty good range. Her 3 is a sweeping attack that does damage to every enemy, and like I mentioned, if you do kill an enemy in Lycan form, it does get reset, which makes her very strong. And once you do get her ult, she really becomes an unstoppable tank. She can just run into the enemy, do damage, has resistances, has no care for really anything, and can just do a lot of damage and get away with it with no regard to anything. If you really can't get Silver under control, then she will be stomping you almost every single match. On top of the fact that her ult is like a 30-second cooldown or something like that, like it's incredibly short, makes her really, really strong, and in my opinion, out of the 6 characters, the strongest out of all of them purely for engagements, but that doesn't make her stronger than Graves. So with that in mind, she is S tier in my opinion, but she's not stronger than Graves. This might be controversial. Graves to me is the strongest character out of the 6 that were released, and I only mean that not because I like her. In fact, I find her incredibly boring and I really hate her, but because of the amount of impact she can have as a character to the overall state of the game with such little input from the player themselves. And what do I mean by that? Her 1 is a jar of souls that basically whenever anything dies around her, she starts building that charge up eventually, and when she throws it, the souls deal damage to enemies that it's near. It will chase them around, be a bit of a nuisance. They're easy to kill, but they can be annoying to deal with. Her 2 is incredibly strong. What it is it's a barrier that basically when the enemy walks over it, they get entangled. So for instance here, if Abrams is on it, he'll get immobilized and stuck, and that can be really, really, really annoying to deal with, and very similar to Venator's Trap. Once an enemy is immobilized, your team can just come in and freaking dogpile on them, and it's kind of over. Now with her 3, this is kind of what I mean by very little input from the player. She is one of the characters where basically she doesn't really have an active ability, it's a passive. So instead of having to worry about 4 abilities, she really only has to worry about 3. And basically what her 3 does is allows her to steal weapon damage and spirit resist from someone she's just holding 1 on, which by the way isn't hard to do because the game auto tracks her beam for you. You don't have to aim, and that's the other part that makes her really strong because the player doesn't really have to do much. Like if I'm holding at this Abrams, I can look away and still from like a pretty decent range do damage to him, and it will work. You don't really need to track him, you just need to keep it in like his general vicinity and you will be doing that damage to him. You pair that up with a strong item like Toxic Bullets and it can build it up without even having to really aim and just do that extra damage to him. She gets a lot of value from not really much input. Now whether that's a good or bad thing is really up to you. I personally really don't like it. But then we come on to her strongest ability, which is her ult. What her ult basically does is you just put it down and it just summons a bunch of zombies that will go attack an objective if it's in the lane or attack an enemy player. They explode when they get close, they kind of just shamble around, and they're kind of just a nuisance in general. Now particularly it's not strong because if you are on the enemy team you can break her ult with just 2 heavy punches, but what makes her ultimate so strong and broken is the fact that, as I have been told, the correct wording for this is she's a split pusher. What that means is she can put it down in one lane, forget about it, go to another lane and help her team, and effectively push both lanes at once. Because of that, her macro ability is so much stronger than literally everyone else out of the 6. Every other character that was just released doesn't really have that capability except for Rem, kind of, but really he can only put it onto a wave, and once that wave gets destroyed it ends. Graves is a constant push for like the duration of that ult, and really for a game which its objectives are pushing them and pushing the lanes, having a character who can push multiple lanes at once, not really aim and not really have to worry about their abilities, in my opinion makes her the strongest out of the 3 because she has the most impact on the overall state of the game with very little input from the player themselves. You can just put her ult down and forget about it. You can just put her 2 down and forget about it. You can throw a jar of souls and then it just kind of does its thing. She's incredibly strong, and not in the sense of that I like it, but just the fact that she is just so much better than all of the other characters that anyone could pick her up and just have really good impact right away. So with that in mind, in my opinion, Graves is above Silver, above them all. She is the strongest out of them. She is number 1 out of the new 6. But hey, let me know what you think. If you like this video, you should like, comment, subscribe, all that, and check out these 3 videos because they're all releasing today. You can watch them all right now if you'd like, and I would very much appreciate it if you did. But if not, have a good life.